Hello and welcome to the garden. It's been a while since my last video and I'm not doing too much in the garden this year. I spend most of my time just tending the fruit or pinching out and tying in the tomatoes. It's a never-ending job, tending the peppers and stuff like that. So not much material to make a video out of, but I just thought I'd give you a little update on the cucumber plants. Once again this year I'm growing the hybrid Carmen. I tried it for the first time last year, and I don't do hybrids. If you watched any of my previous videos, you'll know I don't normally do hybrids, but for a glasshouse cucumber, they have the advantage that I don't have to go over pulling all the male flowers off, so it saves me a chore, and I'm not very good at doing that regularly anyway. So then if I'm growing one of the old-fashioned cucumbers, invariably at some point I will leave some male flowers and then the fruit get pollinated, and that's not what I want. So I'm growing this hybrid, so generally speaking the hybrids are all female, so there shouldn't be any male flowers. It can sometimes happen with some of them, particularly if they get stressed or bothered by something, but generally speaking they only produce the female flowers. So you don't have to pinch anything out, and they're doing very nicely once again. I might not like growing hybrids, but this one performs really well. Let me show you the plants. These plants always seem to be quite healthy and rather productive. Now, I grow these as a cordon, much like with the tomatoes. Now, sometimes I will allow one of the side shoots to develop as well, but on these, because I've planted 3 here, I'm only allowing 1 stem to come up. So it depends how vigorous the plant is. Sometimes I've even grown 3 stems, so if you follow the main stem up, you'll get a leaf, and then in the leaf axil you will get 1, sometimes more than 1 flower, and then you'll get a side shoot and tendrils and stuff like that. Well, I've gone through and I've pinched out those side shoots all the way up, and I'm just growing 1 single stem. It won't be long before it gets to the roof, and then I will have to track it back along the ridge. I don't know if I'm going to keep all 3 of these going, because they are starting to produce a lot of fruit, but the growth is very healthy. Most of the fruit are setting. There's just 1 or 2 that aren't. I mean, it's been really hot, and that's not good for fruit set always, but they're very happy at this end of the greenhouse. I don't know why. Cucumbers always seem to do quite well in this particular greenhouse, and down at this end the soil remains a little bit damp here. I wouldn't have thought that was perfect for them, but I don't know, maybe they like it here. And I don't feed them anything, not normally. I've got a thick layer of organic matter, usually horse compost, on the beds here. I spread that, and that is it, and away they go. So sometimes I will allow a couple of these side shoots to come off, and then you can train up 3 stems, an arbitrary number of stems, 2, 3, it doesn't matter. The plants are quite capable of producing that amount of growth and carrying a stupid amount of fruit, but because I've got 3 separate plants I don't need to do that. And well, when you see the fruit down the bottom, I'll show you that in a minute, you'll wonder whether I need 3 plants at all. Well, here's a side shoot that I've actually missed. Usually I like to pinch them out when they're smaller, because all the effort that went into growing this is completely wasted. So I'm going to snip that out. And actually, that's one of the rare cases where the fruit hasn't set. That one is not happy. So no fruit from that node. There is from the one just below. I'm just going to move that. They can hang down the back. There's enough room for a fruit to grow happily there, but I think it will be a little better hanging down the front of the trellis. And these others, they look okay. So I think it was just that one for some reason didn't set, but I do like to go through and remove those side shoots, ideally before they're quite as big as that rogue one, but it's very easy to miss one or two of them. Right, if I pull that leaf out of the way for a minute, you'll be able to see the fruit. Now, there's a very short side shoot that I'd left early on, and you can see that I've cut it out, but I'd left the young fruitlet in place, and I couldn't bring myself to cut it off, but that's the end of that side shoot. This is probably the first one I'm going to take, and I mean, that's ready now. This will produce some enormous cucumbers that still retain pretty good properties, nice firm flesh. This one's probably just right now. I mean, this does not produce small cucumbers, but I could leave that and it will get a bit bigger, a bit fatter, but that's probably optimum. I've got another one just at the back there, growing behind the trellis. That's also perfect, ready to go. Now I could take one at that size, nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to leave that one to get a little bit bigger. You can see that there's, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 good sized fruits, and really when the plants are growing at full speed, it doesn't take long to get from a small fruit like this to one like that. So now the production is really starting to kick off. I don't know if there's any particular reason for it, but that other plant is a little bit ahead of this one. It's the largest fruit on here. Again, I could take this one if I wanted to. It's a usable size. We've got two that will be, well, these will be ready in just a few days. I mean, next week they're going to be full size cucumbers, and there's one hiding at the back that you might not be able to see on the camera. Two more here that, you know, they're a week away at most, I would think, from being ready. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there ready to go. The plant next to it, that has relatively few fruits. There's just 2 there. Several of the others haven't set, and I mean, in general, this plant on the left is not nearly as good, but it doesn't matter. I mean, this is a ridiculous amount of fruit coming on these. I mean, I've got a dozen here that will be ready within, I would have thought, a week and a half. So that's a mad amount of cucumbers, and it will keep doing that until, well, the very end of the season. Obviously, when the temperature starts to get cold in late autumn, that will bring an end to it. But these will crop like crazy for months now. So that's it really. I just wanted to show you how the cucumbers are doing, and I don't get the same pleasure growing a modern variety as I do from one of the older ones, but I can't really complain about this cucumber. The plants are healthy, they're vigorous, they're productive, and in most respects the fruit are very good quality. Produces a lot of them. They can be quite large without losing quality, and they are great fruits. They're not quite as tasty as some of the older varieties. That can't be helped. I think that the flavour is a little way down the list of objectives when developing new varieties. The disease resistance, health of the plant, vigour, productivity, uniformity, all those things are going to be higher up the list, because that's what modern breeding tends to focus on. The flavour, as a consequence, it's not as good. This is not as good as, say, Telegraph or another of the old varieties. And I think the flavour of the glasshouse cucumbers probably not as good as the old ridge types. But on the other hand, it has all those other benefits. So I don't mind growing it, but it doesn't give me the same joy as I get from the old varieties. And if I've got a choice, and you know, there's no particular reason to avoid them. In this case, I didn't want to pluck off all the male flowers. That's why I'm growing the hybrid. But otherwise, if I've got the choice, I'll always pick something old, particularly if it comes from one region where that's the variety that they've preserved and for many, many years. It makes them, for me, it makes them more interesting, and I like the history of a variety. But nonetheless, this fella is doing a good job once again, so I am not going to complain. But anyway, that is all for this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.